right, welcome to the second session we've had of our Vodcast, Come to the Table Spiritual Mastermind. And we are all here today. We've got Raminia from Las Vegas, Natalie from Wyoming, and I'm Leanne, and I'm up in Canada near Edmonton, and we've each got, we've each got our mug today, but Raminia has an empty bottle of water. So we'll get you next time. But what I want to talk about today, and if you're joining us for the first time, so if you missed our very first session of the Come to the Table Spiritual Mastermind, then please go back and watch it because it was great. It was a lot of fun. And if this is your first time, I want to just talk about what is a spiritual mastermind and what this is. It's actually an evolving beast, to be perfectly honest. But it's spiritual mastermind, and the invitation to come to the table is an opportunity really for individuals to show up for themselves. Individuals who desire more for their life, who are seeking fulfillment and validation, a place to be heard, a real sisterhood where we come together and are unified in collaboration and connection, is the opportunity of coming to the table and showing up for yourself so that you can create and become, you can create the life that you desire and become the person that you feel in alignment with. Life just flows. These things don't typically happen until we start showing up for ourselves. So when we come to the table, we explore our inspirations in the presence of others. We expand on our connection with our soul and with our authentic self. At the table, we get the chance to explore our ideas, the inspirations that have been gifted to us really from infinite intelligence. And that connection, the validation and recognition of everyone that we sit with provides clarity and expansion to build on ideas and see even bigger possibilities than when that initial idea was maybe just dropped into our awareness. So at the table, the energetic input of loving and supportive collaboration multiplies the impact that we can have in the world, in our immediate world, with our immediate family, but also beyond into the global world. We can shift our circumstances quickly when we're at the table and when we show up for ourselves. So showing up for ourselves looks like engaging in the conversation. It also looks like investing our time, our energy, and our money in ourselves, because we spend time and money on those things that we perceive as having value, right? You're going to go for quality. You're going to spend money on something that you see has great value. And don't you have great value? At the table, we're here to tell you that yes, you do. When we value our spiritual well-being, then we must demonstrate that through our actions. And so you can tell yourself anything. You can say words to yourself. You can think things. I'm a banana. I can think that, it's not true, but I can come up with those words. And I can also think, I desire to know myself better. I desire spiritual connection. But if I don't do anything about it, it says I might as well be a banana. It's the same thing. It's as meaningful. So we need to take action. We need to invest in ourselves. We are worth it. We are valuable. Before we fully get into the topic that we're discussing today, I want to share a little example of how ideas and inspirations multiply when we show up for ourselves and accept that invitation to come to the table. So Raminia is, I feel so blessed to have worked with Raminia. She's one of my coaches, an endeared mentor. She has helped me break through a lot of spaces in my life, and she has invited me to the table, and I've shown up because the value I know I hold in myself and the value that is returned to me from working with her is exponential, because we collaborate together, and she really helps me achieve what I desire in my life. And so that aside, she asked one day in a public forum, she asked, what is it that you really want to be doing, that that you're inspired, but something is holding you back from? I think the question went something like that. Romina, does that sound familiar? When my response to you almost immediately was, I want to make retreats. I want to do retreats. That sounds familiar?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And I know that Natalie at the same time was also wanting to do retreats, because we had also talked about it. And so the three of us, from that one question that Romina asked, inviting us to come to the table of that conversation, the three of us showed up. Guess what happened? We created a retreat, and it's going to be awesome. And this spiritual retreat that is happening at the end of April, from April 27th to May 2nd in Las Vegas, woo, is going to be amazing, because we came to the table. And you should really get yourself there, to be perfectly honest, because it's evolved into more than a retreat. Now it is a spiritual mastermind. It started off as an idea, an inspiration, and we sat down and talked about the idea, came together, and the energy of it multiplied. And this is not just a retreat, this is a spiritual mastermind. And you are invited to it. Don't miss out. There's not that many spots to come and really engage in the conversation that is meaningful for you and that will propel you into the life that you desire. You can check it out, all the details, at thetableretreat.com. But that's not where the story ends. So it grew from the retreat to a mastermind because and when we all showed up at the table. And then the idea grew into creating a community and sharing ideas on a podcast. And then the mastermind, when we came together, we thought, hey, maybe this should be a vodcast, which is, look, it's happening. This is because we showed up. Funny story, Natalie today has evolved it now into a podcast. So if you don't know what that is, wait till the end of the podcast and we'll fill you in on that. It'll be really exciting. But following inspiration, like we did, coming to the table and multiplying our ideas into a spiritual mastermind is like, so you know when you're driving and you hit every red light and it's just like, oh, there's no flood, it's so frustrating. Following inspiration is like driving on your way to a meeting and you hit every green light. And the person or the energy, your business partner at this meeting is infinite intelligence. And you're telling infinite intelligence. When you follow your inspiration, you're telling infinite intelligence that you are ready to fulfill on the purpose you came here for. That you're ready to be the creator of your life. And then momentum picks up. And then miracles start happening. And then life starts getting really exciting. However, none of that happens when we sit on the fence, flipping through a catalog of options, looking at 100 different pairs of pants that are never going to fit you. The pair of pants that is your perfect fit is that idea that dropped down, that infinite intelligence slotted into your mailbox, hand delivered to you. What are you going to do? Are you going to open up that package and put on those pants? Or are you going to say, perfect pair of pants, that's great. No, thank you. So anyway, that finally brings us to the topic of today's vodcast. And we want to look at how indecision paralyzes us spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, and in every aspect of our life. What happens when we don't pursue our inspiration? Really, What is stopping us from being ourselves? That's the question on the table. So, having said all of that, Romania or Natalie, I know that you both are inspired to talk about this today. Natalie, take yourself off mute and then go ahead.
Brilliant, thank you. Romania was talking this morning prior to this conversation about perfectionism and how it's not, when you're being a perfectionist, you're not being yourself. You're trying to be someone else's idea of you. And I have found myself so I'm not it or not following through or then procrastinating. So perfectionism isn't really about wanting to do your best. It's about wanting to fulfill the idea of someone else's idea of you. So you aren't being yourself there. And that was kind of a new perspective for me this morning. I find myself in indecision, procrastination, and perfectionism many times, and I have overcome that many times, but I had never thought of it from the perspective that Romania had given me this morning. And so that gave me a lot of insight about what perfectionism is and how it's not being myself. So that was very enlightening for me this morning, and it's something I can keep in mind when I get in that space and am going back to self-mastery and overcoming those things to see it from that angle, because I'm not being true to myself in that moment.
So what you're doing is the perfectionism is like an unrealistic expectation that is keeping you from taking action because conditions will never be perfect.
Right. Exactly.
And you know, it's realistic for the other person. Like, they have this realistic idea in their head of you. So, and they're pushing that vision that's comfortable for them onto you. And it makes you uncomfortable. Nobody else is uncomfortable but you. And so the more you learn about the expectations of somebody else, the more you start to build that, because now you are not listening to your intuition. And so you begin to procrastinate because procrastination, procrastination is another form of second guessing. So you second guess and second guess and second guess and second guess until now you turn second guessing into procrastination. And it's hours, days, and weeks later because we're not sure. We're so uncertain of the image that somebody else has for us that we hold off on whatever idea that we have. And so for us, it's unrealistic. But for another person who is putting that image on us, is realistic for them, because that version of you that's inside of their head is making them comfortable. And so now they can get upset, they can get disappointed, they can get, just downright ornery, because they're like, you need to be this because this is what's making me comfortable and helping me through the day and the hours and the weeks. However, it doesn't see you for who you are. And so now you fall from grace. You're off of this pedestal and you never put yourself there. No one ever puts themselves on a pedestal. It is somebody else's perception that is, The perception is on the pedestal. The perfect version of you is on a pedestal, because that perfect version of Natalie that's in my head makes me comfortable. So when Natalie goes outside of what makes me comfortable, now I have to reprimand that. I got to reprimand the actual Natalie, because Natalie's not fitting my comfortableness. It's not making me comfortable anymore. You understand what I'm saying? You get where I'm getting at?
Yeah, so then that kind of lends to what we talked about last time with the shaming, right? If you're so uncomfortable with how Natalie is behaving, that you might try and shame her to correct how she's behaving so that she now feels comfortable for you again, and your life, you know what to expect from your life now.
Exactly. That's exactly it, because I have to always be comfortable in my beliefs and values, because that's what I'm operating on. That's how I run my life. That's what I know. Whether it's right or wrong, this is how I want to live, even though it's uncomfortable. And so it makes other people uncomfortable, right? Because now I'm making Natalie like utterly uncomfortable. Like, I really don't want to be in this situation with Raminia because I'm so uncomfortable around her. That's because I want Natalie to be this way, because this is the best way that Natalie can be. So I know best, and Natalie, do this, this, and that, and you'll live your best life. And Natalie's like, what do you like, Natalie?
Yeah. Can I give a really relevant, can I give a really relevant example of that?
I don't know, because that's not the Leanne that I know. Yeah, of course you can.
Okay, well, let me be the authority of who I am right now. This idea of having a fixed mindset of who we are as a result of someone else's imposition. So I see this happening a lot in the education system, and I know that this has happened with me in my life. Education was very important in our family. And I, throughout my whole grade school years, achieved at the top of my class because I felt that was what made me valuable. Because I had this belief, and it was a very fixed belief, that you have to be the best in the class in order to be valuable. And so over the years, I developed this real performance anxiety, because if I wasn't sure I was going to be the best, I wasn't going to do it, because otherwise I would be a failure in when I measure up to what my mindset told me I had to be. See, I'm not the smartest in my class. I just said told me instead of told me. You know what? I love myself anyway. But when I had that fixed mindset, I was so limited, and I would not do things because I was afraid to not hit that marker. But when I realized, hey, you know what? That's not a healthy way to move through my life, and not to have to, I don't feel performance anxiety anymore, because there's not that need to satisfy someone else's marker of me.
Well, and an even simpler example of that is like when you label something, like when you even are first learning words and you learn that a tree is a tree, you no longer see the essence of it. Like, I love life.
She's so sassy. I'm listening.
So when you learn a tree is a tree, then it's a tree. And in your mind, you see the word tree and it's a tree, and you just kind of bypass it as, oh, that's a tree. But if you're really seeing the tree as what it is, instead of what you've labeled it as, like, you feel the essence of it, like the roughness of the bark and how it sways in the breeze, and you feel the magic of that. And I think sometimes we do that to people. We're labeling them in our mind of what we think they are, and then we lose the essence of who they truly are, you know, and as they're interacting with life in the moment. And you have to be really aware so that you aren't putting all of those labels and conditions and expectations on people, so that you can feel their magic all the time.
I think though too is that we can't be responsible for what other people are doing to us, but we can be responsible to ourselves and not allowing that to come in anymore, and not caring so much about, you know, what happens if I don't score 100% on the test, or what happens if I choose to honor myself. Because when we're accepting and allowing ourselves to fit into something that's not a good match for us, it's you're playing a game that someone else put you into, and it's not the game that you want to play in life. We're betraying ourselves. And when we betray ourselves and self-sabotage ourselves to fit into these boxes that other people have designed for us, then life doesn't flow. It feels uncomfortable. We have this undercurrent of misery because we are not in alignment with who we're intended to be, with what feels really good for our heart. And that's a difficult way to live.
But guess what? We're doing that to our children and the young people every day, because we say, get a good education, you know, do this with your hair, do this with your clothes, wear this, do that, get A's, get, you know, oh, you're a bad person because you got C's and D's. Oh, you're lazy because you slept late. Like, we do this to our youth. We do this in our own households. And it's like we put this expectation on the young people who then, that's in our own homes, that's in our own, see, we're mentors. Like, as women, right, we go from being mothers to mentors. Like, because when children get a certain age, we can't mother them anymore. We can only mentor them based on what we've taught them. And so it's just like, they're looking to make us happy. And, oh, you're disappointed in me because I did this. Oh, you don't like me anymore, or you don't love me anymore because I didn't choose what you wanted me to choose. And so they have this battle early on. We all have this battle early on, and then we just continually allow people's expectations to build on that. And we give them, right, because somebody told you, you know, you need to be at the top of your game, you need to be you need to perform, right, at a young age. Now you're giving people the expectation that you're a high performer. And so they're going to take that when it's actually not something that you really want to be considered. Like, I'm an overachiever, I'm a high performer. So now you give that label to everybody that you meet, saying, this is the label that I label myself as. So it's not correct, but this is what I'm going to give you to see me as. So now they start to put their own ideas around who you are based on the expectations that you had on you. They're going to now weave their idea of who you are. So when you remove that expectation of being a high performer out of your life, now if you are not the best, that individual who has that idea of you, like, comfortably in their psyche, they're gonna look at you like, what? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think though, excuse me, there's a real risk of us going on autopilot and treating other people like our children the way that we were treated, because that's just, we don't even think about it. To be perfectly honest, it's our default, it's our autopilot, we don't even think about it. And I don't think that that's what we want. I know for myself, that's not what I want for my kids. And so it's a responsibility of becoming conscious of who we are and why we turned out the way that we did. And do we now choose that? And is getting A's who I really am? Is that really important to me? And if it's not, then allowing, like consciously choosing to break the patterns that didn't work for me so that I don't pass those on to other people. And this is, for me, one of the very important reasons to come to the table, to recognize the default patterning and decide, is that who I really am? Does that honor me? And if not, I'm going to get off the damn fence and I'm going to make some conscious choices. I'm going to change some things because I want freedom in my life. I don't want to be on autopilot anymore.
You know, so how does that look? How does that look for you? How do you teach your children to come to the table every day based on what you just said?
I ask them a lot of questions about what do they want, what feels right for them. And as often as I can, I honor it. And this is something that I continuously struggle with because I want them to, it's a balance. They have to learn some of the ways that society works without necessarily identifying with it. It's like knowing about, what could it be like? I want to say it's like knowing about religion, but not necessarily having to subscribe to a religion. I know that there's all these different ways, and I know that other people subscribe to that. So it will serve me to understand this, and I can still be who I am. And that's how I approach our kids.
You know what? Let me interject because this is an interesting point. My 16-year-old, she was like, oh, I am a Christian, African traditional, Yoruba practitioner. This is what she was saying at like 6. And it was like, oh, okay, because my mommy does this, my daddy does that, my grandma does this.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, see, when you truly let somebody come to the table, like your child really come to the table, if they even choose a religion, you shouldn't have any yes or no about it. Shouldn't even be right or wrong. If they want to choose Christianity, if they want to choose Buddhism, if they want to choose, Islam, if they want to choose the Baha'i, if they want to choose to be spiritualist, or if they want to choose to, say, hey, I'm just a scientist, I don't want to choose any religion.
Yeah.
We can't have any for or against. It's just, that's what you want to choose. Let me show you some of what happens in this and this and that. Like, do your research and then give them the tools to do their research. That's the only way that we can truly say, we've allowed our children to come to the table. Like, not saying, yeah, don't do it, or yes, do it, but actually giving them the tools to say, here is the tools to do the research that you need to do on whatever option you choose. And whatever option you choose is what you choose. I'm neither for nor against it. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
And it kind of alleviates a lot of the anxiety, the parenting anxiety. For me, it did. It alleviated a lot.
Yeah. And that's hard to do. That's hard to do because we're so programmed with what we were raised with that I find that sometimes I'm imposing something on them and I don't even realize it, and then I catch myself and I then reflect on that and go, oh, how am I going to do this differently so it not only honors who they are, but it honors who I desire to be. And that's why I'm in the conversation every single day. That is why I am looking at myself in the mirror every single day so that I can be as open and true to myself so that I can teach them better how to do that too. Because I realize as a mom, it's not just about me. And Deepak Chopra says, as mothers, we are parents, I don't want to discount men because they are very high influences in kids' lives too, but as mothers, let's just say we're all mothers here, we are our children's first spiritual leader. And that, to me, means it's my responsibility to teach them how to be themselves. And it's hard because I wasn't taught how to be myself. So I got to learn at the same time.
And it's harder even as a step parent of 3 teenage girls who they're older now, but as they were going through questions about religion and spirituality, their mother was in a very spiritual place in Christianity, and she was very inspired to teach them about that. And because she really hadn't been religious for most of her life, and then when she found Christianity and was really inspired by the teachings, she was trying to inspire the girls at the same time. And they were in a place as teenage girls where they were just sort of rebelling against everything. And of course, I had my own spiritual teachings, and I was always reading. I had books, and it was really hard as a step parent to not say, being an influence in some other child's life who's not like completely biologically your own. You don't want to step on their parents' beliefs, and you want to be open about your own beliefs, but also don't want to be so open that it like is influencing them in some way other than how their biological parents believe. So as a step parent, and so I would only answer questions when they asked me directly about what I believed, because it was just, that was the only way I felt like I was setting a boundary that felt like I wasn't imposing or stepping on the toes of someone else. Being a step parent is a whole other, everything's gray area. There's no boundaries. There's no like set, you can do this or can't do that. Like, you have to be very careful about how you're presenting your own spirituality, just because it may not be what their parents believe, and you don't want to impose your beliefs on someone. So getting back around to I don't know really what to say, how to get that back to where we need to go.
It's a process. One, at that point in time, we are still taking someone else's expectations of what a step parent is. And we're always coming into contact with people that don't have the same paradigm, philosophy, ideology that we have about everybody is sitting at the head of their table, and how do we allow people to be them without imposing our own beliefs onto them? Because the moment we impose our beliefs onto somebody else, our beliefs become limited. You know, our beliefs are no longer expensive. We're no longer allowing ourselves to expand and evolve when we superimpose our belief onto someone else. Like, coming in as a step parent or as a parent who has a person who is now going to be the step parent of your own child, it's like, okay, well, that it should be an open forum. Like, okay, my child is now going to New York with her dad and his girlfriend, and they're going to have their own system of functioning. And so I can share insight on best practices. How he decides to parent ultimately is his choice. And if he chooses not to take any of best practices into his own arena, then I have to be open enough to say, all right, this is a learning curve, because now when she comes back, I need not like, oh, I gotta, you know, kind of dissect everything that he's done. No, it's more so like, how has your mind evolved? What do you see? Because now my child is still in a whole nother the whole society, everything about society. And I'm going to end with this. Everything that we do in our home is a microcosm of the greater community. So how we respond in our home is essentially how we're going to respond to other people. And so we really have to practice being in a space of calm and neutrality, you know, and be okay with whatever person, however they're going to respond to what we say, do, or be, you know, and then it won't be hard for us anymore, because their anger, fear, frustrations have nothing to do with us. And I guess that's for a whole nother conversation. But that's my end.
I think that's a really great place to end. And honestly, the conversation never really does end. It just pauses, and then we come back later. So, Natalie, would you like to introduce the next segment of our vodcast? The Coffee, Love, Sunshine?
Yes. So for those of you who weren't joining us last week, Coffee, Love, Sunshine is an inspiration that came to me to sort of revisit the chapters in my life with people who inspired me and molded me and helped me become the person that I am today. And I had realized at some point that I had lost touch with some of the most precious people in my life. And I started using the emojis coffee, love, sunshine to meet with people and talk with people over chats or whatever and have a cup of coffee with them. And so I've continued that little tradition, and it's become bigger. And now today we're doing that again as one of our segments. And so today, and it's also talking about what inspires you about people and how you inspire them. So today, I just wanted to say to Raminya, your inspiration, you inspire me every day. Every single day there's something. Today your conversations, as you were voice messaging me about procrastination and perfectionism, my heart is just so full, and you expand my mind in ways and let me see perspectives that I could have maybe never come to on my own. And through doing that every day, I'm becoming a better version of myself, and that's something that I aspire to every day. And you allow me to become my best self by sharing your soul and your perspective and all of your knowledge with me. And that's such a beautiful part of every day for me. And so I want to say thank you for that. And Leanne, you just make me laugh out loud sometimes. Like, you bring me so much joy and fill up my heart. I'm inspired by your laughter and your giggling and your just funny perspectives. And also, you just always know the right thing to say and to explain. Like, sometimes I think something is so simple, and I sort of see the shallowness of something, and I don't see past that. And then you bring so much depth through your conversation and your words that I aspire to have that thought process more and more. And I find myself being able to do that because you bring that to me. So both of you inspire me every day, and I am so grateful.
Thank you, Natalie.
She like overlapped both segments.
Yeah.
She's sending out the love and the sunshine and
I think
appreciation.
that happens. The gratitude session just comes with being inspired, I think. You're always so grateful to be inspired. You can't help but say thank you.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I see the sunshine comes in when we're able to like really be authentically us based on all of our experiences. And so to be able to share an experience that nobody else shared and to articulate it through in a way that, you know, it's like you're not, no, that's not right to say, or no, that's politically incorrect, and no, that's this, and no, that's that. And it's like, no, just be who you are. And if we resonate, we resonate. If we don't, we don't. And either way, it's okay. And the coffee love sunshine is just like, just shine. Just shine. Love you no matter what. Just shine. No matter what. No matter if you're Snow White or you're orange, you know.
And stripey.
And stripey.
I sound like a goldfish or what is that? Nori?
Clownfish. A Nemo.
Oh, see, I am a clownfish.
I think you just got a nickname, Nemo.
Thank you.
All right, you go ahead, Leanne. It's your turn.
Yeah. Well, Natalie, I'll start with you because you're lately you have been inspiring me. Every time I read something that you write, it's like you are streaming your consciousness, and your words, like when I'm reading them, it feels like I'm dancing with a fully energized, inspired dream of yours. It's got the sweetest music in the background. It just flows. It's fun. It's incredibly heart fulfilling. And it's one of those dreams that you wake up from and you feel like you can conquer the world. And so when I read your words, that's how you make me feel. And I'm incredibly inspired by that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Romina, you are on fire lately, right? This woman has been outputting so much gold. You missed your mouth. It's gone down your shirt now. There you go. But the gold that you have been sharing lately is literally changing people's lives, and I am one of those people. I'm so grateful to be able to say that. And I encourage everyone to check out the Illuminated Woman on Facebook. That's Romina's group, and it's woman like womb, woman. Be prepared to be
like
inspired.
WOMBYN.
Yeah, Illuminated Woman. But the amount that you are producing lately and the conviction with which you're sharing it, I'm right there with you every step of the way, and it is such a pleasure to be on this journey with you. So thank you. I appreciate what you're feeding into my life.
I feel so warm and fuzzy. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Are you waiting for me to say what I'm grateful for?
I was waiting for you to end so that to end the podcast. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. It's so funny.
That's okay.
That cough part. Okay, let's do the podcast.
The club isn't the best place to find the lovers, so the bar is
Come on,
where
man.
I
You know,
go.
Natalie, this your party.
Me and
Your
my friends
body,
at
get your
the
body
table
right,
doing
girl.
shots, drinking fast, and then we talk slow. And you come over
Do I
and
need to
start
turn
up a
it up?
conversation with just me, and trust me, I'll give it a chance. Now take my hand, stop it, and the man on the jukebox, and then we start to dance. And now I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me.
So the
Come on now,
podcast
follow
is
my
when we
lead.
get on and
I
we
may
like
be
dance
crazy,
it out.
don't mind me. Say, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist and put that body on me.
You think
Come
you're
now, follow
hurt.
my lead. Now follow my lead. I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my
She
heart
gonna be
is
right up
falling
front for
I'm in love
Turkey
with your
Yes,
body.
she is.
In my room, and now my bed sheets smell like you. Every day discovering something brand new. Well, I'm in love with your body. 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 Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with the shape of you. When we can, we let the story begin. We're going out on our first date. You and me are thrifty, so go all you can eat. Fill up your bag and I fill up the plate. We talk for hours and hours about the sweet and the sour and how your family's doing okay. And leaving, getting a taxi, kissing the backseat, tell the driver make the radio play. And I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me. Say, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist and put that body on me. Come on now, follow my lead. Come on now, follow my lead. I'm in love with the shape of you. We
like podcasting, Natalie. Thanks for bringing that up today.
You're welcome. No problem. It's a thing.
It's a thing now. All right, ladies. Thank you for coming to the table. It has been a pleasure. I feel wonderful.
So do
Thank you
I.
for
We'll
seeing
see you
me
next
and
I
hearing
feel
me.
full. Peace and blessings.
Love and light.
And I've got everyone in tune to this number. And I can't wait for next year.